Welcome, everybody. This is Sherry Bowers with the Connected Spirit, Connected Biz Summer Gift Event and our Spotlight series. And today I've got with me Patty Tolar, who is a mindset mentor, clinical hypnotherapist, and a generational healing guide. She's worked with women for over 20 years, really focusing on that deep soul work and helping them reclaim their voice, their power, and so we can all live the life we want to live. And that's a wonderful thing. So thanks for spending the time to chat with me a little bit for today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. For those that aren't familiar with you and your work, let's, tell them a little bit about how you got started in what you're doing and what you're doing now with people.
All right. Thanks for asking. My path was definitely not straight, and
None of them are, right?
it was a very roundabout way. And my husband and I, for many years, raised Arabian horses professionally. And the market crashed, and so I had to go out and find a job, and I wasn't too qualified. But anyhow, I ended up going into sales, and I'm not a natural salesperson. So I had to figure out how to do that and make some money.
Right?
So to feed, we have a barn full of horses, a young daughter, and to feed. So I got interested in personal development and personal growth through that. And it just kind of grew. It is fascinating because most of the old sales mentors, and they were back on, like tape decks back then, I listened to as I was driving around from client to client, in my sales business. And they really put a lot of emphasis on personal development. It wasn't really nearly as much about sales techniques. So then they did teach you those too, but it
Yeah.
was a lot on personal development. And it just kind of let it grew over the years. I had an opportunity to hear Tony Robbins. I was invited as a guest to go see him one time when I was still in Virginia at the time. And it just kind of opened up the door. And then, well, I had someone that had purchased some horses from us at one point. We were struggling somewhat still, and they said, well, have you read Think and Grow Rich? And it was just like this whole new thought, a whole new way of looking at
Hmm.
things to me. So it just continued to grow and grow and grow. And it opened me into coaching. So I attended, at that point, actually, yeah, I went in person. I was still in Virginia for, I think it was 5 sessions. I had to drive to Northern Virginia, which is like the big city we lived in the country,
Hmm.
and was trained as a life coach. But then I found that we moved to Montana, and I found when I was working with my clients that they weren't getting the breakthroughs I wanted.
Hmm.
Like I could teach them a lot. I worked with a lot of women entrepreneurs around sales, around their mindset to be sales, but there was always this little struggle that I couldn't break through for them. And, synchronistically, I had the opportunity. I was introduced into hypnotherapy, went to a weekend workshop, and then decided to train as a clinical hypnotherapist. So it was actually a 2-year journey. It was
Right.
part-time. I had the class I went to was small, and we all worked full time. So it took us a lot of time. It required over 100 hours of training, plus some mentorship and some other pieces. So, that really opened my ability to help people at such a deeper level. I could actually help them. The thing is, we all have a vision of what we want our life to be and how we want to live. But what holds us back so often is that early programming.
Yeah.
Neuroscience tells us 80%, up to 80% of we live from our subconscious programming. 80% of the time,
It's
our
crazy.
decisions,
Yeah.
our feelings, our actions. And so that's why people get so frustrated when they're trying to grow and break through and change. And so this gave me the ability to go in there. But then synchronistically, it's just amazing. I was offered some additional training I then at this time I was still working full time in sales and I got laid off. So I took the opportunity and trained as an equine assistant coach, which is something I'd wanted to do for years, being a lifelong horse person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so I've incorporated, and then as I started working with clients more and more, I got intuitive guidance. And I think a lot of it was that I had, well, even back when I first started with my coaches training, I started opening up my intuition. But the more I really believed this is really what I was receiving, the clearer it got and the stronger it got and the more information I was receiving. So I've been guided to add into this the generational clearing because going back to science, and I love to back up our woo-woo stuff with hard science. And the newest genetic studies believe that we actually inherit trauma from our past generations.
Hmm.
And so obviously as a hypnotherapist, I've done past life regressions. I've done womb regressions, which are super fascinating. But then I got this information to kind of guided to me, it came to me in some sessions that I was doing to kind of follow the strands, like clear what's in this life and then see where the energetic bounds are, where it's leading you in, from your past generations. And it's fascinating how often there are connections that are there. And I've just been led to different ways of clearing them. So it's a work in progress. I know
Yeah.
every time I work with a new client and we have a new set of circumstances, I never know what I'm going to be led to do. I
Hmm.
start with the hypnotherapy, working with the subconscious mind, and then we go wherever. And I have very strong spiritual beliefs, so I most of my clients come to me do as well, which is
Hmm.
normal,
Yeah.
And so we often bring in guidance from their spiritual guides as well. A lot of people work with angels today, personal guides,
Yeah. Yeah.
Christ. And so I ask for guidance, as well. And it's just, it's just amazing, really, what comes forward in the sessions and the healing my clients experience. And sometimes it's so subtle they don't even realize it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so amazing. I had one client I was working with years ago, one of my first ones that I worked with in the hypnotherapy, and she had some depression. She was a good friend. We were actually working on her business. And I said, well, I'm doing this training. I need some practice. How about,
Right. Help me out. Yeah.
how about let me do this? And so we started doing a couple of hypnotherapy sessions with her as well, working on her limiting beliefs and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And ended up and she said, oh, I've had this depression. It's not serious enough that she was suicidal, but on and off for most of my adult life. And at that point, she was kind of struggling with it.
Hmm.
I said, well, let's take a look. And we worked on it a couple times. And, about 3 sessions later, I said, well, how's your depression? She went, oh,
What depression?
yeah, what depression? And it was so funny. And I was just like, what? I mean, you told me you had this on and off most of your adult life. Now it's gone. You don't even notice it's gone. But my conclusion is that all we're doing is we're returning to our true self.
Yeah.
Like we're
Yeah.
not becoming something we weren't meant to be or something more, although it feels often like it's more. It's just we're getting rid of all the old stuff
Stuff.
and we're actually allowing our true self to shine through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Kind of scrubbing off all the mud and the caked on gook that just, kind of
yeah,
blocks who
yep,
we are. Yep.
yep. And we form so many of our ideas about things in our first 10 years of our life.
Yeah.
And they're based on what would keep us safe from a child's perspective. But often those patterns, especially as an entrepreneur, but even as I've worked with some men, but most of my clients are women,
Hmm.
and they're wanting to do something new, be something more, have better relationships, whatever they come to me for, although, like I said, a majority are entrepreneurs.
Right.
Um, this what kept you safe as a
Isn't
child
serving you. Yeah.
does not serve you. I had one client that, when she first started school, she got in trouble for speaking out, out of
Right. Right.
and
Right.
she was not, you have two choices. You either rebel and get in trouble, or you be the good child. And she was the good child. But then she said at one point she's an entrepreneur, and she said, I need to market my business more. I want to be doing more networking, and I'm not comfortable talking about, my business in this group. And so that's what showed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was such an important part of her too. We didn't try to, well, we give it a new perspective, saying, give it permission to speak up. But then we
Hmm.
also asked it to actively be involved in her business, because that was her kind of her outgoing piece, her free talking piece. And we wanted her to show up actively,
Hmm. Yeah.
and in
Yeah.
and participate. So we reintegrated that piece from a very strong perspective. And
Hmm.
she's growing her business like mad. So, and yeah,
Awesome. Yeah. It's so wonderful when you can finally like make those shifts and then it's just like,
I know,
finally, you know.
I know. And many of
And
us,
it's
myself included, spent a lot of years trying to make them. And not that we're ever finished. That was the other piece I did realize as I got older. I thought, well, I'm going to get to this thing and I'm going to have it all figured out. And
no.
I'm going to be fixed, right? Fixed. I'm going to be the person that I want to be. But you're just always unfolding. And I think too, and I see this so much in my friends and in my other entrepreneurs, like when I do these types of events and I have connections with them, that as we gain wisdom and learn, then there's something else
Yeah.
to work through to go to the next level.
Yeah.
Like
There's always the
maybe,
evolution.
yes, yeah. So maybe who we are would have been fine for the person that was 10 or 20 years ago. We would have thought, wow,
Right.
this is cool. Look, I can do this. And with ease and grace. But now this person wants more, that she wants to be wiser or deeper or
Yeah.
whatever it is that we're seeking, more joyful. I'm working a lot of things around joy now. This has been something that was downloaded to me this winter when I was
Mm-hmm.
not feeling a lot of joy. Living in Wyoming, our winters are long and cold. And it was like, I'm sitting around bemoaning, oh, I read somebody's bio, some well-known, and you think, gosh, they have so much magic. They have all these wonderful things that happen in their life.
Right.
And my guidance just like, I say, she gives me a kick in the butt once in a while. She's like, no way. You have lots of magic in your life. So my
Yeah. Yeah.
my message was to sit down and start looking at all these magical things that occurred in my life. And so I'm starting to create some programs. My gift is actually from that intuitive guidance, which is helping people um, take a look at their path and bring and acknowledge the magic in that path. And what I found is when I went through that exercise is that it gave me so much joy. First, it was joy, and then the second feeling was a sense of personal empowerment.
Yeah.
Like I really, I'm self-empowered. And I've had those things all along, but we all go through these periods where things aren't great or they aren't like we want them to be. Maybe they are.
Right.
Maybe I need to be in that place to be open to the download of information that was given to me and then have it to offer others.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I feel like
Exactly.
a sense of joy is often missing. I know I've been through periods in my life where I don't have a lot of joy. I won't sit down, I'm not happy, but I'm just kind of plugging along. I'm fighting the
Yeah.
fight,
Yeah.
figuring it out. And so I'm feeling this sense of adding that into my work, especially around, things like my free downloads. And I'm working on a 5-day challenge. And it's really about taking a look at what you've experienced in life and acknowledging the magic in there And that actually puts you into a sense of joy and self-empowerment.
Yeah. So true. So true. So tell everybody about, so everybody that's watching,
Mhm.
Patty's got a wonderful gift that you can just click the link that's below the video and grab that. But tell them a little bit about that. I know you said, it was a divine download you've
Yeah,
got, and
divine download. So the first part of it is a PDF, and it gives you 5 journaling prompts. Gives you a little information in front of it. And the prompts are around looking at your life path, and those circumstances that you've lived through, and
Mhm.
trying and helping you find a new perspective to look at these things through, because we often look at them from the perspective of pain or difficulty, or or what,
The negative
from
side.
negative emotions
Yeah.
and feelings, which we tend to be in the moment when we're struggling through life. And um and so when we take a minute and we look at the rear view mirror, we find that, whoa, that led to this. And if that hadn't happened, I would have never been on this path, or even just met that person that was important in my life,
Hmm.
or or had that experience of, maybe something happened, you were on a road trip, you had a flat tire or some kind of issue, and it messed your trip up. But then you find you have an experience in that trip that would have never occurred before.
Right.
And it could be just a moment of joy, a moment of connection, or it could lead to something long lasting, even a
Yeah.
permanent change in your life.
Yeah.
So that, and in this journey, you find more joy. So the second part of the gift, and I it's on the information, but I'm thinking I probably should have emphasized it a little bit more, is that I'm going to send you a guided meditation that I've recorded to put you in a deeper connection with your subconscious, and then another prompt, looking back in your life path, and
Hmm.
and a different perspective of it. But I thought it would be fun. So you've on your own, you've journaled, and now I'm going to put you into a deeper state of connection with your subconscious mind that will really open you up to, a little bit of a shift, a little deeper shift.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
yeah, and so you'll receive that in the probably within a week. I'm still working. I apologize. As you know, I've changed some of my methods and the programs I'm using behind my email connections, and so I'm still working on getting it in there, but it'll be there. You'll
Hey,
have it.
it's divine timing.
That's
So
right.
it'll
I was just
it'll
going to
show
say
up
that.
in divine timing.
That's right.
Excellent.
When it's right for you. And I hope you'll, and it'll be a fairly short meditation, probably around 10 minutes, but um just really getting you centered into your heart and allowing your connection to the
Awesome.
conscious mind. So I'm excited about that.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for spending time sharing what you do and all about your work. It's been wonderful. Everybody watching, make sure you take advantage of Patty's gifts, because I think all you have to do is look anywhere around today, and we could all use a whole lot more joy and a
Yes.
whole lot more calm and a whole lot more peace. So,
Isn't that the
um,
truth? Yeah, I know
yeah,
it seems like a simple gift. The whole process was given, like I said, given to me as just a spiritual intuitive download. But and I thought, oh well, what I did it, and
right.
I'm so just astonished at the deep change that it gave me. And I'm going to really encourage you guys to download and try it. Play in my sandbox. I just
Yeah.
actually offered a private group of healers a 90-minute class around this, and they had great fun with it. Great fun with it. So
Well, thank you very much. And
thank
it
you
was
for
a
having me.
pleasure having you on the call. And we will see everybody on the next one. Thanks.
All
Bye.
right.